A lot of brands never make it past the cold start on TikTok Shop. I've heard different estimates, but most operators agree that it's somewhere between 60 and 80% of brands fail before they ever get traction. And a lot of the time, it's not because the product is bad. And it's because they were launched with the wrong expectations. They focused on the wrong things. They didn't sample enough. Overall, they had a bad strategy for TikTok Shop. So in this video, I'm gonna break down 2 realistic ways to launch a product in 2026. First one, which is a more conservative path for stability, and then the more aggressive path built for speed. I'm gonna compare them side by side, month by month, so you can see exactly what each one requires. Now, small caveat, a lot of my experience is in consumables, especially in supplements, so it's a little bit more aggressive. If you're in a less competitive category, then naturally you can adjust that down. But just for reference, this is what it takes to be in a really competitive category like supplements. So a little bit about myself. My name is Fernando Campos. I run a portfolio of supplement brands. We do about 40 million a year on both Amazon and TikTok Shop, and then about 500K a month in monthly GMV on TikTok. We're about to hit 1 million. We're super excited. But yeah, we've helped with several other brands scale on the platform, and everything in this video comes directly from our own launches that we run inside of one of the toughest categories on TikTok. Okay, so month 1, this is where most brands either set themselves up for success or ruin their launch before it even starts. So let's start with the conservative approach for month 1. It's really about validation. You're not trying to scale yet. You're trying to prove that the SKU actually converts. You should be sending about 300 to 400 samples per SKU. And if you want to really test multiple SKUs, that means each SKU needs about 300 to 400 samples in month 1. Never divide the samples or you won't get meaningful signal. I'd wait to start turning on ads until you have about 250 to 300 shoppable videos. You want to set your ROI target to about 1.5 to 2, and your GMV is going to basically be all determined by your daily ad spend. So for example, if you're spending about $100 a day at a 2x ROI, you're gonna do about $200 a day in GMV, since most of the GMV driven on TikTok Shop right now is driven by ads with GMVmax. Yeah, and then the same GMVmax rules apply. So here's the key part. If GMVmax isn't spending to your target ROI, you have kind of 2 levers. One is get more content so that you can start hitting that ROI target, or 2 is slightly lower your ROI target until you get GMVmax to start spending. Over time, your goal should be to ratchet up your ROI towards your target. Now, flash deals are gonna matter a ton in month 1, again, because you don't have that social proof of units sold. So you should run deep, aggressive flash deals, depending on what you can support, to create urgency and build that early traction. The faster you can hit 100 to 200 sales, the faster TikTok starts giving you and your SKU more distribution. Remember, month 1, success is simple. Get conversions, build your social proof, and start getting out of that cold start. Okay, so now let's talk about the aggressive approach. Still month 1, and this is kind of the pace that we're at. So we're probably gonna send about 1,000 samples per SKU. So we're only gonna focus on 1 SKU at a time when we're going this big, but we're gonna start sending out about 1,000 samples in month 1. We're gonna also layer in about 25 to 30 creators on retainer with the expectation that each one posts 30 times a month. And so overall, between the retainers and the sampling, we're shooting for at least about 1,500 to probably about 2,000 shoppable videos in month 1 between those 2. We'll probably be a little bit more patient. We'll probably get to about 500 shoppable videos before we start turning on ads. And then we're gonna shoot for probably an ROI target of about 1.5. Again, we're trying to move fast. And so we're trying to figure out what hooks, what angles, what ICPs are working so that we can double down on them quickly into month 2 and month 3. Flash deals are still essential here. Again, we're really just trying to create urgency and drive up those units sold. And so those deep discounts really help in terms of getting people to purchase on TikTok Shop and not spilling over to other platforms. And the big thing is that means that we're also driving affiliate sales, which ultimately means affiliate commissions. And we're going to be starting to generate more inbound interest from other great affiliates. So a big question that I get is, how much should I budget to spend on GMVmax per day? Honestly, that's dependent on you and your business and your goals. But yeah, we'll easily launch with like probably a budget of 2-3K a day. Then our expectation is the ROI is going to increase over time, getting us closer to break even, but we're willing to take that loss in those first 30-60 days. By the way, if you want everything I'm talking about laid out step by step, I put together a full TikTok Shop launch playbook. It includes all the sampling numbers, the ROI targets, how to structure GMVmax settings, and the exact creator system we use across our brands. If you want the full playbook instead of taking notes from this video, there's a link below. Okay, so now we're into month 2, and let's continue with the conservative approach. So month 2 It's more about controlled traction at this point. So at this point, if I tested multiple products in month one, that means I'm going to double down on the one that showed the best signals. And then I'm probably going to stop sampling for anything else. I would still sample about 300 to 400 of that SKU that I feel like is our hero SKU, just to maintain that content velocity. If I have any great affiliates from month one, I'm going to reach out to them, build a relationship with them, and see if I can get them to create more videos, whether that's through a retainer or some type of giveaway, bonus, whatever it takes. So deciding how much to spend in GMVmax per day is difficult. It really depends on you and your budget, but I would say probably a few $100s a day is something that's recommended. So now that we're in month two, your GMVmax ROI target should move up. So maybe anywhere from 2.25 to 2.75. And again, GMV is going to follow your spend. So if you're at $300 a day, let's say, in spend at a 2.5x ROI, then you're going to be driving approximately about $750 a day in GMV. You're still not profitable, but your losses are narrowing, right? Because your ROI is improving. And then the nice thing is that if you're in a consumable category, your subscription should start trickling in. I would continue running the flash deals, but now maybe at a less steep discount because you've already started to drive some of that social proof. But make sure to keep running those flash deals, even at a smaller discount, just because you want to create that urgency for customers to purchase now. So operationally, this is where you can start tightening up your creative system. So I would start giving creators feedback, let them know how they're doing in terms of watch time, how to improve their hooks. Start identifying which winning angles are working, and then making sure that everybody is replicating those. Take your top performing videos, making sure that you're sending that out as inspiration to every creator that you have in your network, and then update your creative brief to make sure that everybody's aligned in terms of what's working the best. Okay, so now let's go into the aggressive approach for month two. This is where the data from month one really starts working for you. Because you went so hard in month one between ad spend, flash deals, and shoppable videos, now you're gonna have way more insight than most brands will have in an entire quarter or maybe even a year. So in month two, I would still be sampling really aggressively, probably another 1,000 samples, just because I don't want the content velocity to slow down. So I think a lot of people misunderstand the purpose of sampling. Sampling to me is a cheap way of basically speed dating a ton of creators. Overall, the initiative is probably not going to be ROI positive if you're just looking at like the cost of sampling versus the GMV that it actually drives. But what it does do is it allows you to find those diamond in the rough creators that actually drive GMV for your brand. Let's say when they hit 3K in GMV, I would make sure to reach out and then put them on retainer. You can invest whatever 10 to 15% of the GMV that they've driven into that retainer to try to get, let's say, 30 posts a month. And ultimately, that's really why you're doing the sampling, is so that you can identify those creators that are actually converting for your product and for your brand, and then getting them on your team and not on your competitors. Now, in month two, this is where your discipline really matters. So I would start cutting the bottom performers of the retainers. And so I would replace at least the bottom 50% of your creator retainers that didn't create good content, that didn't get any sales, and that honestly just doesn't look like they were really putting in effort. The flash deals remain important, but not as deep, just like on the conservative approach, but ultimately just helping you create urgency. But now that you're really scaling on TikTok Shop, I think the important thing is that with the aggressive approach, you're going to pick up traction a lot faster, and then you're going to start seeing that spill over to other channels much earlier. And overall, you're still going to be at a heavy loss on TikTok Shop alone, but I think you're going to be improving your rankings on other channels, which is going to help you mitigate some of those losses. So month three, conservative approach. So this is where things start to stabilize. Okay, so again, I would sample probably another 300 to 400 units this month. Your ROI target, again, lifting it up slightly, so maybe 2.75 to about 3.25. And ultimately, with the right margins on your product, the right commission set, and then now getting to a run of 3x ROI, you should be anywhere in the -10 to +10 contribution margin, hopefully. And so your GMV is again going to follow your ad spend, nothing new there. I would say give or take 90% of sales now are driven by ad spend. Same deal with flash deals, I would lessen the discounts. Your subscription should be growing even further. And then now in the conservative approach, you're probably going to start seeing more spillover to Amazon and other channels, which is great. Month three is where things become more predictable and you're starting to scale. Now, month three for the aggressive approach. So I would still sample about 1,000 units this month. I would be setting my ROI target around 3x, maybe slightly higher if you can. Your numbers are going to be way, way bigger than on the conservative approach. So yeah, now for your creators on retainer, I'd be constantly reevaluating, figuring out who's a winner, who needs to be cut, and then taking that budget and then redeploying it with new creators, especially those that are coming from your sampling that have proven to sell for your brand. Because you scaled so quickly with the aggressive approach, your Amazon and TikTok flywheel should be really compounding now. Your subscriptions are growing and everything should be going up and to the right. This is the approach that we're taking to scale our brands to $1 million a month on Shop. Okay, so here's some bonus tips because these are the questions that I get asked most often. So number one, should you launch multiple products? I'd say you can, but I wouldn't suggest it. I think if you're newer to TikTok Shop, as quickly as possible, focus on one SKU. So maybe month one, you're doing a testing phase where you're testing a few different products. Again, sending, let's say on the conservative side, 300 or so per SKU. But then as quickly as you can, double down on the one that's working the best and then scale that up before scaling your next products. It's way, way, way easier to take, let's say, a product from 100K a month in GMV to 200 versus taking 4 products, let's say each to 50K a month, just because of inventory planning in terms of resources and in terms of sampling for all those different reasons. Next one that I get asked the most, should I go live? So lives help. If you're willing to trade time for money and you're really trying to get out of the cold start and you want to drive some of those early units sold, sure, go live if you really want to. But ultimately, it's not super scalable for you to do it yourself. And I would say in the 80-20, it's definitely like the 20%. And so I would wait to really focus on lives until you're hitting at least 1,000 shoppable videos per week. Then I would start looking at scaling it with affiliates. But ultimately, you're going to drive the bulk of the volume through shoppable videos. And then the last one that I get asked a ton is, should I start investing in branded content? So I'm operating with the assumption that you don't have a strong following on your branded page. If you do, great. You should test it, post some content and see if you can drive sales. And the beautiful thing is if it gets picked up by GMVmax, you're not paying commission, which is awesome. But again, if you don't have a branded page with a huge following, then I would say it's again that maybe 10%, like the best brands are driving 10% of their sales from the branded page. And so it's very rare for your branded page GMV to account for like 30 to 40% of overall sales. And so if it were me, I'd be really focusing on the affiliates since it's way easier to scale that. And then over time, start reinvesting in your branded content for the long term. So if you guys want real visibility in terms of like advanced creator analytics, all of your key KPI over time, or overall how profitable you are, check out Hive HQ. It's the platform that we use across our entire $40 million portfolio. If you ever want to chat TikTok Shop strategy, I have a link below. And then don't forget to subscribe and make sure to check out my next video, the affiliate system powering many of the top TikTok Shop brands today. Thanks.